All right, welcome everyone to another deep dive. This time, we're tackling a legend, the man behind the iconic Hondas we see everywhere, Soichiro Honda himself.
Buckle up, because this guy's journey is a wild ride.
Oh, I am ready. We've got a mountain of articles, biographies, even some interviews all about Soichiro. And our mission today is to sift through all that, see what's truly fascinating about his life, his work, his impact. Where do we even begin with a guy like this?
Well, his story really starts way back in a small village in Japan. Not exactly the high-tech hub you might imagine, huh?
Nope, not at all. Born to a blacksmith and bicycle repairman. So, not born with a silver spoon, that's for sure.
But hey, maybe that's the key. See, that environment, it was his first engineering school, right?
Yeah.
Tools, machines, figuring stuff out, that's Honda's childhood.
Hands-on learning. I bet he was taking apart bikes before he could even ride one.
Probably. And it shaped him. That foundation, that love for mechanics, it's crucial to understanding everything he went on to do.
So picture this. 15 years old, packs his bags, heads to Tokyo, becomes an apprentice at an auto repair shop. Bold move, right?
Bold. Try crazy. But it shows you the kind of drive this guy had. He wasn't content with just tinkering in the village. He wanted to be in the thick of it, where the automobile world was exploding.
Tokyo in the early 1900s. That's gotta be a sight. And for Honda, it's like stepping onto the main stage.
Exactly. But he wasn't just fixing cars. He was absorbing everything about them. And get this, he even gets into racing.
Racing. That's where the need for speed kicks in, huh?
More than speed. Think about it. Pushing machines to the limit, understanding what makes them tick, what makes them break. That experience is gold for an aspiring engineer.
It's like a real-world crash course, pun intended.
Right. And all of this fuels his desire to create, to build something of his own. So 1937, he takes the plunge, founds Tokai Seiki, their specialty, piston rings.
Piston rings. Okay, those aren't exactly as glamorous as race cars.
Maybe not glamorous, but absolutely essential. They're a tiny part, but without them, engines don't work. And Japan's industrializing like crazy, so there's a huge demand.
So Honda's spotting an opportunity, filling a need, smart, but was it smooth sailing from there?
Oh, not even close. His early rings, they had issues, quality control problems. Imagine you're trying to sell to big companies like Toyota, and your product keeps failing.
Ouch, that's got to be a major setback.
Most people would give it up, right? But not Honda. This is where his persistence, his almost stubborn refusal to be defeated, kicks in.
I'm sensing a theme here. This guy doesn't back down easily.
He becomes obsessed with solving this problem, tweaking the process, new materials, whatever it takes. And eventually, boom, he cracks it.
Tokai Seiki's piston rings become good enough for Toyota. That's a serious victory.
It's validation. This little company proving itself to a giant. Honda's problem-solving skills, his engineering, it's all on display. But then, as you might guess, things get complicated.
World War II. But that throws a wrench into everything.
Devastating time. Honda's factory gets bombed, materials are scarce, he ends up selling Tokai Seiki to Toyota. A low point, you'd think.
You'd think so, but knowing Honda, I'm guessing he didn't just sit around feeling sorry for himself.
Nope, he's already got the next idea brewing. 1946, he starts the Honda Technical Research Institute. And this is the seed that blossoms into the Honda empire we know today.
So even after a major setback, he's pushing forward. Always moving.
Always. And what's the problem facing Japan now? Post-war, everything's wrecked, people need to get around, but cars are expensive.
Right. The need for affordable transportation is massive.
So what does Honda do? He gets resourceful. He takes these war surplus engines, small reliable things, and he modifies them to power bicycles.
Motorized bicycles. That's brilliant. It's like the earliest scooters.
Exactly. It's practical, affordable, and it fills a need perfectly. And, you guessed it, this simple idea, it's about to evolve. Big time.
Because those motorized bicycles, they're just the beginning. 1948, Honda Motor Co. is officially born. And in 49, out comes their first real motorcycle. The Dream D-Type. Love that name.
It fit the times, huh? People needed a bit of dream after all that hardship. And the bike itself, it was a hit. Reliable, stylish, everything people wanted.
And it wasn't just luck. It was Honda's obsession with quality, with engineering that exceeded expectations.
Absolutely. This guy, he understood that every detail matters. And the results speak for themselves. 1959, just over a decade later, Honda's the biggest motorcycle manufacturer in the world.
That's a meteoric rise, from tiny village workshop to global domination.
It's a testament to his vision, his leadership, his sheer will to succeed. But as you can imagine, Honda's not done yet. He's got his sights set on an even bigger prize: cars. That's the next mountain Honda wants to climb. But first, let's dig a little deeper into what made those motorcycles so successful. Because it wasn't just luck, right?
Oh yeah, there's some serious engineering magic going on there. Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the stuff that makes Honda engines special.
Well, right off the bat, Honda's focused on making them lightweight, fuel-efficient, easy to maintain. Makes sense in post-war Japan, where every penny counts.
Practicality first. But I bet he wasn't content with just basic engines, was he?
Oh, not even close. He's constantly tinkering, always looking for ways to improve. One of his big innovations is the overhead camshaft engine.
Okay, now that sounds technical. Break it down for me. What's so special about an overhead camshaft?
See, before Honda, most bikes used side valve engines, simpler but less efficient. Honda's design puts the camshaft right above the cylinder head, directly driving the valves.
More direct control, huh? What does that translate to?
More power, higher engine speeds. It's a game changer for motorcycle performance. So smaller engines, more punch. Riders loved that.
That's got to be a selling point, especially when fuel's scarce.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just engines. Honda's innovating with chassis design, suspension, the whole package. He wanted the entire riding experience to be better.
And it worked. Honda becomes a powerhouse in the motorcycle world. But that ambition, that drive to push further, it doesn't stop there. He's got his eye on something bigger.
Cars. It's a huge leap, but Honda's not afraid. 1963, he dives in with the T360 mini truck.
A mini truck. Not exactly what you picture when you think of Honda's sporty image.
Maybe not sporty, but practical. Remember, this is still post-war Japan. People need reliable, fuel-efficient workhorses, and the T360 fits the bill perfectly.
So again, he's spotting a need, filling a gap, smart move.
But he's also got a need for speed, let's be honest. Same year, he rolls out the S500, a small, zippy roadster. Now we're talking.
Okay, now that's more like the Honda we know. That balance of practicality and fun, it's there from the start.
Exactly. He gets that different people want different things. But one thing's consistent. Honda's obsessed with fuel efficiency and reliability. It's a core part of his vision.
And it's about to pay off big time. Because in 1972, along comes a car that changes everything, the Civic.
Talk about perfect timing. The oil crisis hits in '73, fuel prices go through the roof. Suddenly, everyone's scrambling for small, fuel-efficient cars.
And the Civic is ready to answer the call.
It's economical, reliable, surprisingly roomy for its size, but it's also got a certain cool factor, you know?
It's not just a boring econobox, it's got personality.
Honda knew that young people wanted a car that was fun to drive, not just practical. And the Civic, it nails that balance. It becomes a symbol of a new era, rejecting gas guzzlers.
It's a huge hit, and it cements Honda's reputation for building cars that are both innovative and high quality.
It opens the door for other iconic models, the Accord, the Prelude, all building on that same philosophy. But of course, there's one more piece of the puzzle we haven't talked about yet. Motorsport.
Racing. It's like it's in Honda's DNA. He couldn't stay away, could he?
Nope. He'd raced in his younger days, knew the value of it. It's a proving ground, a way to push the limits of technology and showcase your brand.
So where does he start?
Formula One. And oh boy, what a journey that turns out to be.
F1, the pinnacle of motorsport. That's a big stage.
It is. Honda's F1 story has its ups and downs for sure. They start in the 60s as a constructor, even win a Grand Prix. But their real dominance comes in the 80s as an engine supplier.
The legendary McLaren-Honda partnership. Senna, Prost, those iconic red and white cars, pure speed.
Honda's engines were beasts. Powerful and reliable. They pushed the boundaries, constantly innovating. But it wasn't just about brute force.
They were also thinking about fuel efficiency, aerodynamics, all those things that give you an edge.
Right. But F1's a fickle world. Honda pulls out, comes back. It's a roller coaster. In 2006, they're back as a constructor, even win a race with Button. But then the financial crisis hits.
Yeah, that was a tough time for everyone.
Honda pulls out again in 2008. But you guessed it, they can't stay away forever. 2015, they're back, this time with McLaren again, and later with Red Bull.
And that Red Bull partnership, that's where the magic really happened.
It's a perfect match. Red Bull's aero expertise, Honda's engine power, it's a winning formula. Verstappen's championship in 2021, that's the culmination of it all.
And now, they've officially stepped back from F1 again. But they're leaving behind quite a legacy.
Their tech lives on in Red Bull powertrains, which is still a force. And get this, Honda's coming back to F1 in 2026 with Aston Martin.
Another comeback. It seems like they can't resist the allure of F1. But let's not forget, there's another motorsport chapter in Honda's story, IndyCar.
Ah, yes, IndyCar. They dove in headfirst in 1994, back when it was kart, and immediately started racking up wins.
That kart era was wild.
Yeah,
Honda was right there at the forefront, pushing engine technology to the limit.
absolutely. But then things get messy. American open-wheel racing splits between kart and the IRL.
Not an easy time for the sport. Lots of turmoil.
Honda decides to go with the IRL, which eventually becomes today's IndyCar series, and guess what? They keep on winning.
Dominant performances, championships, all that good stuff. They even become the sole engine supplier for a while, which levels the playing field, right?
It does. All the focus is on driver skill and team strategy, but eventually Chevy comes back to IndyCar and the rivalry is back on.
Which is great for the fans. Those Honda-Chevy battles are intense.
They push each other to innovate, to be better, and Honda, they keep racking up the wins, multiple IndyCar championships, and get this, 14 Indianapolis 500 victories as of today.
That's a pretty impressive record. It shows how deeply Honda's commitment to motorsport runs, both F1 and IndyCar.
It's that constant desire to push the limits, to be the best, and all that racing tech, it spills over into their road cars too.
So we're all benefiting from those innovations, even if we don't realize it. Pretty cool.
Very cool. But Honda's spirit of innovation, it goes beyond cars and motorcycles. They've also been pioneers in a field that's captured imaginations for decades.
Robotics. Now, that's a whole other level of engineering.
Yeah.
We talked about ASIMO earlier, that iconic humanoid robot. But what's the driving force behind Honda's fascination with robotics? What are they trying to achieve?
It's not just about building cool robots for Honda. It's about using their engineering know-how to solve real problems, make life better for people.
It's like an extension of their whole mobility for everyone thing.
Exactly. They see robots as tools to help us, in all sorts of ways, from doing dangerous jobs to caring for people, even being companions.
Speaking of companions, let's talk about ASIMO. That robot was a sensation.
It was. Advanced Step in Innovative Mobility, that's what ASIMO stands for. It was Honda showing off what they could do with robots.
I remember seeing videos of it walking, running, even climbing stairs. It was mind-blowing how smooth it moved.
It was a huge leap forward for humanoid robots. It showed what was possible, that robots could move and interact with the world in a whole new way.
But then ASIMO was officially retired in 2022. Was that Honda saying, okay, we're done with humanoid robots?
Not at all. More like they were shifting gears,
So what's next? What's Honda working on in the robot world these days?
They're still pushing the boundaries. But instead of just humanoid robots, they're focusing on three main areas. One is, of course, still humanoid robotics, but more practical, less showy stuff.
Makes sense. Robots can actually help people in their daily lives.
Right. Then there's assistive robotics, things like the walking assist device to help people with mobility issues, or the UNICB, a personal mobility device that's like a self-balancing electric unicycle.
I've seen those. They look kind of futuristic, but also really practical, like something you could actually use to get around a city.
Exactly. And the third area is industrial and autonomous robotics. Think self-driving vehicles, but not just cars. Honda's developing autonomous work vehicles, basically robots that can do tasks in tough environments like construction sites or disaster areas.
So from helping people walk to exploring dangerous places, Honda's robots are doing it all.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing stuff.
It is. And they've even got this avatar robot in development, which is like something out of science fiction. It's supposed to be controlled remotely, like an extension of yourself, able to interact with the world in a whole new way.
Wow, that's getting pretty close to the robots we see in movies.
It is. But it shows you how Honda is always looking ahead, thinking about the future, just like their founder. And speaking of Soichiro Honda himself, we've talked about his company's achievements, but what about the man behind it all?
Yeah, we've covered the innovations, the drive, but what made him tick? What was he like as a person?
He was a bit of a rebel, a nonconformist. I mean, think about it, leaving home at 15 to follow his passion. That takes guts.
Not your typical goody two-shoes following the rules.
Definitely not. He had this curiosity, this drive to understand how things worked and then figure out how to make them better.
I bet he was the kid taking apart every gadget in the house, driving his parents crazy.
Probably. There are stories about him spending hours in his father's workshop, just fascinated by how things worked. And that hands-on approach, it stayed with him his whole life.
He wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. And that translated to his leadership style too, right?
Absolutely. He was a hands-on leader, working alongside his engineers, his mechanics. He led by example, inspiring people with his passion and work ethic.
Not the kind of guy who just sits in an office and barks orders.
Nope. He created a culture of collaboration, of innovation. He encouraged people to experiment, take risks, even if it meant failing sometimes.
He famously said, success represents 1% of your work, which results from 99% that's called failure. Pretty profound, huh?
It sums up his philosophy perfectly. He saw failure as a stepping stone, a chance to learn and improve.
That's a lesson for everyone, not just engineers.
Absolutely. We can all learn from Honda's willingness to embrace failure. He knew that to achieve great things, you have to be willing to try, to fail, and then try again.
So he built a company where people weren't afraid to push the boundaries, to try new things. And that led to some of Honda's most innovative products, right?
Exactly. The Civic, for example. It was a radical departure from the norm, a small, fuel-efficient car that was also fun to drive. Honda championed that idea, even when others doubted it.
And it paid off big time. The Civic became an icon, changing the car industry forever.
It shows Honda's vision, his ability to inspire his team to do amazing things. He wasn't afraid to go against the grain, to fight for what he believed in.
So beyond the engineering genius, it was his leadership, his personality, that made Honda such a success. He had this almost childlike enthusiasm for machines, combined with a relentless drive to make them better.
And let's not forget his sense of humor. He was known for being playful, making people laugh. He understood that having fun, creating a positive environment, was key to fostering creativity.
I bet he had some incredible stories from his life.
Oh, I'm sure he did. Racing, adventures, always pushing the limits. His life was a testament to his motto, the power of dreams.
It's inspiring, isn't it? To think one person with a passion and a dream could have such a huge impact on the world.
It really is. So Soichiro Honda's story reminds us that with vision, hard work, and a bit of rebellious spirit, we can achieve incredible things.
Well said. It's been an amazing journey exploring the life and legacy of Soichiro Honda. From a small village workshop to a global empire of motorcycles, cars, racing, and robots, his story is a testament to human ingenuity and the power of innovation. What a legacy.
He truly was a remarkable man.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Soichiro Honda. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic to explore. Until then, keep dreaming, keep innovating, and never be afraid to push the boundaries.